Traditional children literature. The quest of traditional literature heritage takes us to time before recorded history. Tales of religious significance allowed ancient people to speculate about their beginnings. Do traditional literatures from different countries have common features? Similarities in the type of tales and in the narrative motives and content of traditional stories from people throughout the world constitute solid evidences that traditional literatures are both universal and ancient. What are traditional tales? Every social class has cultivated the art of storytelling, which reflects the culture, natural environment, and social contacts of the storyteller and audience. In the past, storytelling is not belonged to children. In 18th century, Charles Perrault and Brother Grimm brought a new respect to traditional literature. Today, folk literature is considered as important part of early child's cultural heritage. It is difficult to imagine the early childhood and elementary school years without the Little Red Riding Hood and the Three Bears. There are four types of traditional literatures. First one, folk tales, fables, myths and legends. Traditional tales have been handed down from generation to generation by word of mouth. In contrast to a modern story, a traditional tale has no identifiable author. Instead, storytellers tell what they have received from previous tellers of tales. The first type of traditional literature is folk tales. Folk tales are prose narratives which are regarded as fiction. They are not considered as dogma or history. They may or may not have happened and they are not taken seriously. Because the tales are set in any time or place, they seem almost timeless and placeless. They usually tell the adventures of animal or animal human characters. There are 5 types of folk tales: cumulative tales, humorous tales, beast tales, magic and wonder tales, and white tales. Cumulative tales. Tales that sequentially repeat actions, characters, or speeches until a climax is reached. Their structure allows children to join in as each new happenings occur. For example, a runaway foot is a popular subject for cumulative tales. Gingerbread Boy, the Pancake, Johnny Cake, and the Bun. Humorous tales are the folk tales that allow people to laugh at themselves as well as others. For example, in the Russian tale, The Peasant's Pipich, the humor results from absurd situations and the stupidity of the characters. Beast tales. They are among the most universal folk tales being found in all cultures. For example, the coyote is a popular animal in Native American tales, while the fox and the wolf are found in many European tales. Beasts in folk tales often talk and act quite like people. For example, the Bremen town musicians is an example for beast tales. Fourth type, magic and wonder tales. They contain some elements of magic which can be good or bad. For example, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast. Fifth type, white tales. White tales answer a question or explain how animals, plants, humans were created and why they have certain characteristics. For example, why Siberian birds migrate in winter and animal folk tales around the world. What are the characteristics of folk tales? Plot, setting, characterization, theme, and style. First, we'll talk about plot. Conflicts and actions are common in folk tales. As tales belong to the oral tradition, listeners are brought quickly into the action. Conflict between characters representing good and characters representing evil is typical in these types of traditional literature. Setting. It includes time and space. The time in folk tales is always the far distant past, usually introduced by some version of Once Upon a Time. The first lines of a folk tale usually immediately places listener into a time when anything might happen. For example, a Russian tale, The Firebird, begins as long time ago in a distant kingdom, in a distant land, and so on. A French tale may be placed on a day of days in the time of our fathers. Characterization. Folktale characters are less completely developed than are characters in other types of stories. Oral storytellers lacked the time to develop fully rounded characters, so characters are symbolic and flat. Characters easily typed as bad are accompanied by those who are always good. Children identify them easily, and this may account for the popularity of folk tales with young children. Folk tales usually establish the main character's nature early on, as Charles Perrault does in the first paragraph of Cinderella. There was once upon a time a gentleman who married for his second wife the proudest and the haughty woman that ever was known. She had been a widow and had by her former husband two daughters of her own humour who were exactly like her in all things. He had also by a former wife a young daughter, but of an unparalleled goodness and sweetness of temper, which she took from her mother, who is the best creature in the world. The fourth feature is theme. Folk tales contain universal truths and reflect the value of the times and societies in which they originated. The characters, their actions, and their rewards develop themes related to moral and material achievement. Good overcomes evil, justice triumphs, diligence and hard work being rewards. Style. Charles Perrault believed that the best stories are those that imitate both the style and the simplicity of children's verse. This style permits few distracting details or unnecessary descriptions. Simplicity is especially apparent in the thoughts and dialogues of characters in folk tales. They think and talk like people, and very often the language of folk tales may be enriched with simple rhymes and verses. For example, Jack and the Beanstalk, the giant chants fee, fi, fo, fum. I spell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll have his bones to grind my bread. What are the motives of folk tales? There are a few examples of motifs of folk tales. First one, supernatural beings, deceitful or ferocious beasts like wolves and lions, magical objects like cloak of invisibility, magical powers like granted wishes, magical transformations like human to animal. Now let's talk a bit about supernatural beings. They are usually either enemies or helpers. The wicked supernatural beings such as ogres and witches may find heroines and heroes, entice them into their cottage or castle, and make preparations to feast upon them. Supernatural helpers support many heroines and heroes in their quests. For example, seven dwarfs help Snow White in her battle against evil stepmother. Now let's talk about the second type of traditional literature, fables. Fables are brief tales in which animal characters that talk and act like humans indicate a moral lesson or satirize human conduct. Legends credit the origin of the fables in Western culture to a Greek slave named Aesop who lived in the 6th century. Fables are found worldwide. The traditional literature of China and India, for example, contains fables similar to Aesop's. Characteristics of fables. They are fiction in the sense that they did not really happen. They are meant to entertain. They are poetic with double or allegoric significance. They are moral tales, usually with animal characters. Fables are short and they usually have not more than 2 or 3 characters. These characters perform simple, straightforward actions that result in a single climax. For example, the town mouse and the country mouse, and the tortoise and the hare. The third type of traditional literature is myth. Myths are prose narratives which in the society in which they are told are considered to be truthful accounts of what happened in the remote past. They are accepted on faith. They are taught to be believed and they can be cited as authority in answer to ignorance, doubt, or disbelief. Myths are embodiments of dogma. They are usually sacred and they are often associated with theology and ritual. Every ancient culture made up stories and answered questions about the creation of the earth, the origin of people, and the reasons for natural phenomena. The Greeks called these explanations mythos, which means tales or stories. Today, people sometimes use the word myth to describe a story they consider to be untrue. There are a few functions of myths. Myths are a mystical one that allows people to experience the awe of the universe. It is a cosmological one that shows the shape and mystery of the universe. Myth is a sociological one that supports and validates a certain social order, and myth is also a pedagogical one that teaches people how to live. The main characters in myths may be animals, deities, or humans. The actions takes place in an early world or another world, such as the underworld or the sky. Myths are valuable for children because they provide children with knowledge about ancestral culture and allow children to look at other cultures from the inside out. Myths are models to believe. They are serious statements about existence. They provide a framework for understanding the things that other people did or thought. They are tools for understanding and expanding imagination. They provide means of introducing children to literary allusions. Hist- Probably the best known myths in Western culture originated in ancient Greece. When the Romans conquered Greece, they adapted many Greek myths, applying them to their own equivalent deities. The fourth type of traditional literature is legends. Legends are prose narratives, which, like myths, are regarded as true by the narrator and his audience, but they are set in a period considered less remote when the world was much as it is today. Legends are more often secular and sacred, and their principal characters are human. Value of legends for children. Legends help children understand the conditions of times that created a need for brave and honorable men and women. These tales of adventure stress the noblest actions of humans. The line between legends and myths is often unclear. We consider the tales of King Arthur to be legends rather than myths because they are stories primarily about humans rather than supernatural beings, and also because historical tradition maintains that King Arthur actually existed.